when we talk about the life story of the Buddha, I always teach my students that don't take it seriously. Because when we read the life of Buddha, we was taken by that story too much until we missed all the essence of that very story. So the life of Buddha is, I always teach my students, is not history, but it is about his story. So when we learn life of Buddha, you have to replace the Buddha with yourself. So when you read the life of Buddha, or when you study life of Buddha, you replace yourself with the Buddha, and then it has become your life. So when we talk about life of Buddha, there's a lot of miracles. So cut that miracles away, because all those miracles is kind of just symbolizing the teaching of the Buddha. You have to understand every miracle we call miracle there. But all the miracle was not mentioned in the Pali Tipitaka that much. It was kind of symbolism. For example, when Buddha was born, it was said that Prince Siddharta was born, they got 7 steps, which is for many, in a divine way, it could be possible. But I always teach my students that there is no point of making that point at all. Why we need divine power, why we have to undermine our human power. It's a human. And the whole idea of a 7 step, it doesn't mean that he really took 7 steps. Old texts even explain that 7 steps basically means that his words of teaching has been spread by himself to the 7 states at the time, out of 16 states at the time of the Buddha. So you can have many interpretations of that. You can have a 7 step if you are very fond of miracle, so be it. But if you are not fond of miracle, you don't have to go through the miracle. So you look at from the all what you call is Dhammic point of view, just to see as a Dhamma. So, for example, even the word Rahula, the son of the Prince Siddharta, we always name as an obstacle. And then, how it is possible for someone smart as a Buddha, smart as Prince Siddharta, he will name his son an obstacle. So it is not fair to the Prince Siddharta. It is not fair to the son. So there's a lot of those things we can analyze that. Again, Rahula, if you are expert in the Pali, it is not only the obstacle. It also can mean that someone who was born in the eclipse. The Rahu also means the eclipse. So you have a many way of looking at those things. So when you look at the Buddha's life, so my way of teaching life of Buddha is I look at the life of Buddha as my own story, as your own story. So if you look at that own story, it means that it is a life of struggling. It is a life of struggling where we have to struggle in daily basis. We have to struggle. When we think of struggling our life, we always think of an economic struggle. But actually it is not. In every day we have to struggle for doing something, whether you want to do or not, whether you want to eat, whether I should eat this one or that one. You see that your life is always struggling in choosing what you want, what you is searching for, and so and so. That is absolutely the same thing what Prince Siddharta was going on at the time, with the idea of all this understanding of the world, understanding of the vision, how they look at the world vision at the time. So these are everything, although it was in the 2,500 years ago, but we are facing the same problem now. So if you just replace the Prince Siddharta with yourself, and you will see that you are going through the same process just as Prince Siddharta has been gone through that time in 2,500 years ago. So for me, life of Buddha is our own life, but it is a way of how do we understand your life and how do we solve the life's problem and how do we live in a society with others, and then especially how do we live our life with the nature as all essential being as well. This is a very important point that the Buddhists make, that it is not only us who live in this world. We have to share whatever we are having with so many others, that is other peoples, other essential beings, and the nature. So this is what I see as a life of Buddha. So you can see a lot of things from life of Buddha, how to deal with the nature, how to deal with essential beings, how to deal with society, how to deal with the bad people, how to deal with even the hackers, how do we deal with all these unethical businessmen, how do we deal with all unethical the politicians. So you will see that all those things when you read the life of Buddha and the Pali Tipitaka, it is all answering that how we deal with it. And then most important is to dealing with other people. That is a one phenomenon. But most importantly, how do you adapt yourself? How do you deal yourself? How do you develop yourself to able to live with those surroundings which is not favorable or favorable? So this is the whole about the life of Buddha and Buddhism in other way.